Good morning, everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can get 3 5-milligram shots out of a 15-milligram vial of Mounjaro. Before I start, I wanted to say I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but I am someone who's been using these drugs quite successfully for the past 15 months. And with the shortages going on here in Australia, a lot of us have figured out how to get the best value for money out of what we can find in the chemist shops. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the 15-milligram box. This is the 15-milligram box of Mounjaro, and what it comes in is actually a tiny little vial, which is this little vial, and the orange cap denotes that it's 15 milligrams. So that's it there. If we turn it around, you can see that the level of liquid in the vial is very small. With the brand name Mounjaro, the amount of liquid in the vial will always remain the same no matter what dose you're on. So, for example, this vial here says that it's 15 milligrams in 5 mils of liquid. If you watched my last video, you would have seen that the 5-milligram vial also said 5 milligrams in 5 mils of liquid. So that means that with this vial, if we're going to break it down into 3 5-milligram shots, then we're only going to be taking out a very small amount of the liquid from here. If you watch my last video, you will have seen me give myself an injection of the 5-milligram dose from the 5-milligram vial. Today, I'm going to be taking a third of the dose out of the 15-milligram vial to inject into myself. Now, it goes without saying that before I started, I cleaned my hands thoroughly with soap and water and dried them. We want to try and keep this process as clean as possible. We're not in a sterile conditions. You can see I'm in my kitchen of my apartment. Nothing here is sterile, but we want it to be as clean as we can get it because we don't want to risk infection. When you are breaking down a vial into 3 different shots, you are increasing the risk of infection because you're going to keep this. You're going to puncture the top of it, take out a third of the liquid, and you're then going to put it back in the fridge, and you're going to keep it in the fridge for another 2 weeks, because next week I'll take the other third, I'll take the second third, and then the week after that I'll take the last bit out of the vial. This is not recommended by the manufacturers. Eli Lilly puts out these vials as single-use vials. However, we all know how difficult it can be to actually get medication at the moment in any dosage. So my recommendation is to, as someone who's been on these drugs for a while, is to get whatever drugs you can get when you can get them. And I managed to score some 15-milligram vials. So I'm going to break them down into the dosage that I want to take, which is 5 milligrams. Okay, so first things first, I just wanted to show you what I need in order to give myself this injection. The first thing I need is obviously the vial of medication, which I have here. The second thing is a syringe with a needle attached. There are 2 different sizes of syringes that most people in Australia get for the purposes of injecting this medication. There is a 100-unit syringe, which is this one here, and there is a 50-unit syringe, which is this one here. It really doesn't matter which one of these you use, but for the purposes of today, because we're only taking a third of the medication out, I'm going to use the 50-unit syringe. So, the next thing we need is good old rubbing alcohol, or if you have alcohol wipes, you can use those. I use icicle rubbing alcohol. First thing we do here is, and I have this in spray bottles, a little spray bottle that I keep in my purse. I have this one here, which you can just tap a cotton bud onto the top of, and the the icicle rubbing alcohol comes out. Now, as I said, I wash my hands beforehand, but you can use this, again, a cotton bud, to sanitize your hands even more. And I love the smell of this stuff too. It just smells clean to me, and I really like things that smell clean. There we go. So, once again, very clean hands now. We are going to take the bottle and we're going to pop the cap off the bottle. So we just do that, it just comes off, it's just a little plastic cap, and then you're left with a little bung there. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the needle directly into the middle of that gray, I call it a bung, I don't know what it's actually called. So even though we're not in a sterile room, I'm obviously in my kitchen, I do like to try and keep everything as clean as possible. I do this even if I'm injecting a 5 milligram vial into myself. But for the 15 milligram vial that's going to be broken down into 3 5 milligram vials, it's even more important that we keep everything as clean as possible, because we're going to be puncturing the seal of this vial, and then we're going to be putting it back in the fridge for another 2 weeks. And next week we're going to take it out and we're going to give ourselves a 5 milligram shot, and then we're going to take it out a week later and give ourselves the last of the medication. So, important thing to do is to sterilize this before and after we puncture the needle into the vial. So, just rub a little bit of rubbing alcohol on the top, and if you want to, you can rub all over the vial. It's not going to hurt it, it's glass. But the important thing is to rub off the top of the bung. Now, the next thing we're going to do, put that over there, put the top on that because it does evaporate. The next thing we are going to do is take our little syringe and we're going to pull off the top, and the needle, you can see there, is very, very small, so it doesn't hurt going in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the, where can I put this so you can see? Yeah, here we go. So we're going to put the needle directly into the center of the vial, like that. And then we're going to tip it upside down, like that. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw out the medication. I know that there are around about 60 to 65 units in this syringe, which means that 20 units will give me a third of the dose that's in the syringe. So I'm going to draw down on the medication until I get to the 20 mark. Here we are. Just get to 20. So if you can see there, the little black bung is on the 20 mark. And then we're going to take the syringe, tip it back upside down, take the needle out. Okay, so now that I've drawn up the medication, I am going to put this down on my clean workstation. I have clean paper towels down here, so it's clean, and I'm actually going to rest it on top of the cap so that the needle does not come into contact with anything. And the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to clean the area where I am going to inject myself. So, again with rubbing alcohol. So we're going to sterilize it. So I'm going to do this, pinch an inch, then there we go. Put that down, take up our needle, put our needle in, 1, 2, 3 in, can't feel it, push down on the needle as the liquid goes in. There we are, 20 units given, and that's it. Now, this goes in a sharps bin, or I actually have an old Softly bottle, which I put mine in. But the important thing to do now, especially with this, because we now given ourselves a third of this medication, but we still got 2/3 of the medication in here, and we want to keep this as sterile as possible. So what I do is I take an alcohol swab or an alcohol pad, put some more alcohol on it, and wipe the top of the bung. Now, you could just leave it like this. What I do is after cleaning the top, I get some sticky tape and I pull it out. This is not sterile, but it's going to keep it as clean as possible, and it's not going to let other bugs in. And then I just put the sticky tape over the top of the entire bottle, pushing down on the top, and that sort of seals it in, I think. At least it does for me. And then I'm just going to cut the sticky tape off. And now we have our sealed, push it down on all sides. And now we have a sealed bottle. This will stop evaporation from this vial over the next 2 weeks that I'm going to be using it, and I hope it will also stop any bacteria from getting in. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back in its little box that it came out of, because I like to keep it in the fridge and in the dark. And then I'm just going to put this straight back in the fridge. There we go. So that's how you do it. If you have any questions, happy for you to leave them down in the comments. If you're on 0.25 milligrams and you get a 5 milligram vial or a 7.5 milligram vial, basically anything, you can break them down this way. But with the shortages ongoing until at least, well, in Australia they're saying until at least August, but let's really be realistic. We're talking 2025 before there's a good supply available of every dosage that you might need. We've got to do what we can in order to get our medication into us. I'm going to be doing a video on how I'm going to go on to maintenance, because I've now lost 69 pounds, which is 31.5 kilograms. I'm basically at my goal weight now, and I just need to figure out how I'm going to do maintenance. So I'm going to do a video talking about that. Subscribe if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it informative, and I hope you all have a lovely day.